Hello, and welcome to Rural and Remote Teaching at Sandy Plains State School. It is important to view working as a teacher in a rural and remote community, such as Sandy Plains, as a positive and exciting experience where you will be given unique and life-changing career-building opportunities. However, like all employment areas, there are also vast complexities involved in teaching in rural and remote communities in which, as a beginning teacher, you are required to be familiar with. Teachers in general face a number of complexities when beginning their careers. However, in rural and remote schools, beginning teachers are faced with greater challenges compared to those teaching in urban schools due to influencing factors such as location and isolation, the context of the school community, teaching experience and personal background, socialisation, cultural and socio-economic contexts, access to resources and professional development opportunities, multi-age classes, and political, social, and systematic pressures. The following presentation has been produced in the hope it will assist beginning teachers at Sandy Plains State School in providing them with a support kit to succeed in teaching in a rural and remote location. The following support kit will provide a clear understanding of the challenges involved with two complexities you can be faced with when beginning teaching in rural and remote communities, and will provide solutions and strategies in relation to relevant policies, appropriate resources, and support personnel to give future teachers the best opportunity to thrive while teaching at Sandy Plains State School. While teaching at Sandy Plains State School, the importance of engaging with parents and the school community cannot be more highly stressed. It is considered a key element in creating positive learning experiences for the students. Sandy Plains State School plays an active role in the community. With the school being seen as a community hub, there is an expectation that teachers will establish relationships with different community members and be committed to promoting positive connections with parents and the wider community. Partnerships between teachers, parents, and communities has been an educational priority at both state and federal levels and is a core component within the Melbourne Declaration. The Melbourne Declaration states that partnerships between students, parents, carers, and families, the broader community, businesses, schools, and other education and training providers bring mutual benefits and maximise student engagement and achievement. Additionally, the Melbourne Declaration describes how Australian governments commit to working with all school sectors to ensure that schools engage young Australians, parents, carers, families, and the broader community to support students' progress through schooling and to provide them with rich learning, personal development, and citizenship opportunities. Now that you can understand the importance in establishing positive relationships between yourself as a teacher at Sandy Plains State School and with the parents and carers of your students and the wider community, it brings us to our first complexity. Our first complexity is establishing working relationships with parents, carers, and the wider community. Partnerships between teachers, families, and community members in rural and remote communities are vital for ensuring the success and full participation of all students. Trusting partnerships among these groups contribute to student success and ultimately to creating a thriving and united community, especially in schools with diverse populations. Such partnerships result in benefits for all stakeholders, including improved student learning, achievement, behaviour, and attendance. Educator effectiveness also improves, and it enhances family quality of life and increases connections among community members. As Sandy Plains State School is a close-knit community, there is an expectation that teachers will create positive relationships with parents, carers, and the wider community from the moment they accept the role of teaching at the school. The following information will support beginning teachers like yourself with addressing the challenge of working with parents and the wider school community at Sandy Plains. There are systemic, social, and political teacher implications that are required to be considered by beginning teachers when engaging with parents and the community. The Parent and Community Engagement Framework, established by the Queensland Government, assists teachers in addressing these systemic and political implications by outlining how to best connect parents and the broader community with schools and how schools can engage with parents and communities. There needs to be a mutual ground in which teachers understand the context of the home life of students in rural and remote communities, and parents in the community respect the importance of students' schooling lives. The Parents and Community Engagement Framework highlights how both the school, community, and parents can work together to maximise student learning outcomes and identifies what schools can do to strengthen learning outcomes for students through effective partnerships between principals, teachers, students, parents, and the community. The framework states that the education of students is a shared responsibility, benefiting all students, society, and the economy as a whole. Therefore, parents in the broader communities have a reciprocal responsibility to engage with schools. The framework is established around 5 key elements of parent, teacher, and community engagement. These include communication, learning partnerships, community collaboration, decision making, and participation. The framework is a vital resource for you to access as a beginning teacher at Sandy Plains State School, and it is advised that you refer to this framework to assist you in establishing and then maintaining positive relationships with parents, carers, and the wider community. The link to the framework is on the screen for you to access. As a beginning teacher at Sandy Plains State School, you'd be familiar with the importance of the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers. The Australian Professional Standards guide professional learning, practice and engagement, and facilitate the improvement of teacher quality to contribute positively to the public understanding of the profession. The key elements of quality teaching are described in the standards, and what teachers are expected to know and be able to do at 4 career stages is articulated. An important standard that relates to teacher engagement with parents in the wider school community is outlined in Standard 3, Plan for and implement effective teaching and learning, and Standard 7, engage professionally with colleagues, parents, carers, and the community. If we look specifically at Focus Area 3.7 in Standard 3, it says, engage parents, carers in the educative process. And Focus Area 7.3 in Standard 7, engage with the parents and carers. These standards relate specifically to this complexity as it highlights how teachers like yourself are to engage with the parents, carers, and community members at Sandy Plains State School. It is suggested by professionals that beginning teachers in rural and remote locations should walk the community so that they can meet the people, see the housing and the businesses, and get a feel for the nature of how the community operates prior to the beginning of the schooling year. Sandy Plains is a welcoming community, and all residents will be interested in getting to know the new teachers at the school, so this is highly advised. Furthermore, the initial engagement you have with parents or carers in being a positive experience for both parties is vital. It is important that you contact the parents of your students and have a positive conversation with them about their child within the first few weeks of school. Additionally, welcoming parents and carers to visit the classroom and providing them with your contact information is encouraged. In order for parents to feel welcomed into your classroom, it is important that you communicate this with them and inform them that at Sandy Plains State School we have an open door policy, meaning they are welcome to provide their assistance in the classroom or just call in to have a conversation with you as their child's teacher whenever they require. An additional resource you can access to assist you in creating positive relationships with parents, carers, and the community is Partners for Learning. Partners for Learning is an initiative with the aim to enhance links between communities and schools. It draws upon a significant amount of research to support Australian schools in ways of working with parents and communities. It is recommended that you as a beginning teacher at Sandy Plains State School view this website and access the resources available to assist you with promoting positive relationships between your students' parents and the community. Another avenue for support is through teachers at Sandy Plains State School. Many teachers have a wealth of experience at the school and can assist you in working with the wider school community simply by introducing you to local community members and parents. Being isolated from teaching support networks has been identified as one of the major difficulties in teaching in rural and remote communities. This introduces a second complexity: the challenges associated with networking and accessing support in rural and remote locations. Due to distance and isolation at times, accessing support including professional development, resources, and mentoring from experienced teachers can be extremely difficult. It is considered a very important complexity, as if teachers in rural and remote communities are not provided with adequate support and networks, there are many ongoing effects. These effects include a high turnover of staff, which then leads to a negative impact on students, as the students struggle to form positive relationships with their teachers, which can increase students' negative behaviours and the call for behaviour management interventions in schools. This then leads to poor attendance rates, which affects students' academic success and creates a negative relationship between parents and the school staff and can create poor community relations, which then in turn negatively affects the wider community. The challenges associated with networking and accessing support in rural and remote locations is influenced by many of the Australian professional standards for teachers. When looking at the Australian professional standards for teachers, you will easily identify that there are many that relate to having networks and finding support for you and your students. It is up to you to determine the standards you will focus on when identifying the support you and your students require. However, the more specific standards that relate heavily to this complexity are Standard 6 and Standard 7. In particular, focus areas 6.2, engage in professional learning and improved practice, 6.3, engage with colleagues and improve practice, Standard 7, focus area 7.4, engage with professional teaching networks and broader communities. These all highly relate to the complexity, as they are all directly related to networking and support. There are numerous political and systematic documents and funded support networks available for beginning teachers working in rural and remote schools like Sandy Plains State School. When addressing the professional support available to teachers, there are political contexts involved because funding of support networks is determined by Education Queensland and the amount of money the government has allocated to Queensland schools. Thankfully, there are many organisations and resources available as support for you as a beginning teacher in being able to overcome this challenge, although knowing where to find this support can sometimes be very difficult as a beginning teacher. One support avenue available to you as a teacher at Sandy Plains is a specialist support staff member provided by Education Queensland. This specialist staff member is available on a part-time basis to work with students with learning difficulties. You are also welcome to contact this staff member when they are not at school by phone or email if extra assistance is required. Additionally, we have a guidance officer available, which can provide resources and professional development to staff, parents, and the school community. We share this guidance officer with other small schools in the area. The guidance officer can also provide diagnosis of disabilities, liaise with other government agencies, and provide parenting support to students' families. Furthermore, there are also specialist staff members who visit the school when required, as provided by Education Queensland. These specialist staff members include advisory visiting teachers, occupational therapists, speech-language pathologists, and physiotherapists. Additionally, the use of technology can also assist you as a beginning teacher in making personal connections and having the opportunity to access professional development resources or collaborate with specialist teachers from other schools. A list of resources that allow you to do this are outlined on the screen. Firstly, there is the Action Plan for Rural and Remote Education. This plan was developed to address how the Queensland Government is responding to the unique challenges of rural and remote areas and outlines existing programs and new initiatives that support young people living in rural and remote locations. It is suggested that as a beginning teacher at Sandy Plains State School, you view this plan as it offers access to programs and current initiatives that can assist you in working with your students while at Sandy Plains. Next on the screen is One Channel. As a teacher at Sandy Plains, your access to face-to-face professional learning can be limited at times. As a staff member of Education Queensland, one method of accessing professional learning via technology is through One Channel. One Channel is a Queensland government initiative that provides an online portal enabling access to live and pre-recorded professional development seminars provided by experts in a range of areas, including curriculum, classroom management, differentiation, and ICTs. Due to distance being an issue in being able to attend professional seminars, here at Sandy Plains State School we often have link-ups through the use of different technologies such as Skype to connect with other schools or attend professional development programs online in order to enhance our teaching pedagogies and practice and increase student learning opportunities. The next dot point on the screen has a link to a journal article. This article is highly relevant as it outlines a range of professional learning networks designed for teacher learning. The article discusses a range of resources and interpersonal connections that support informal teacher learning. A professional learning network is described by Flanagan as a teacher-driven global support network that decreases isolation and promotes independence. It is encouraged that you read through the article and consider using some of the professional learning networks outlined as a method of support while teaching at Sandy Plains. The final resource on the screen is the Work Program Report. The Work Program is a report based on research conducted in 11 remote schools that are achieving success under challenging circumstances. The findings presented in the report are valuable to you as a beginning teacher at Sandy Plains because they offer insights into practices and behaviour that resulted in improved outcomes in other schools in rural and remote locations. Some non-for-profit organisations that you can access as a method of support and networking are Bush Kids. Bush Kids is a non-for-profit organisation providing primary health care to children and their families in rural Queensland communities. The Rural and Remote Education Access Program. This program helps schools and school communities improve the educational outcomes and opportunities of students who are disadvantaged because of their geographical isolation, so that their learning outcomes match those of other students in urban areas. The VISE program. The aim of VISE is to support the education of students in rural areas, especially isolated outback families involved with distance education. And the ICPA program. ICPA is an Isolated Children's Parents Association of Australia. It is a voluntary non-for-profit parent body dedicated to ensuring that all rural and remote students have equity of access to a continuing and appropriate education. An additional method of networking is with Sandy Plains State School colleagues. Working collaboratively and engaging with other teachers and teacher aides in the school can be one method of support and professional networking to use in order to extend your knowledge, understanding, and professional teaching practice. Luckily, at Sandy Plains State School, we are fortunate enough to have a range of diverse staff among 8 full-time teachers and 6 teacher aides. The teachers and teacher aides at the school are vital sources of long-term information and are good connections to the community, with most teachers having a wealth of experience and knowledge about what has and hasn't worked at the school. Overall, staff relations are quite positive at Sandy Plains, and it is recommended that you join in with as many social club get-togethers organised by the school as a beginning teacher to be able to make social connections with your colleagues and find support avenues through establishing relationships with other community members. It is hoped this support kit has given beginning teachers the best opportunity to succeed and have a positive teaching experience when working at Sandy Plains State School. It is common knowledge that rural and remote teaching does not come without its challenges, but it is vital to remember that the staff and community at Sandy Plains are here to help you and support you into transitioning into your role at the school. Teaching in rural and remote communities offers exceptional personal and professional opportunities and advantages for beginning teachers. It is a rewarding lifestyle choice that allows you to get involved in the wider community on many levels. By choosing to work at Sandy Plains State School, you are providing positive and worthwhile opportunities for your students while developing your skills as a teacher in an environment that is encouraging and supportive. All the staff and students at Senny Plain State School look forward to meeting you. In the meantime, do not hesitate to contact us if you require further assistance.